2, 1, action.
Okay, my name is Vuyo, Mfolozi. I represent the organization called Ubunye, BamaHostela, and I'm also a treasurer of the organization. Ubunye, BamaHostela is an organization that was formed in 2015. The reason of forming the organization was the founders of the organization back then. They saw the struggle that the people of the hostel was living in, in terms of poor service delivery, the conditions they were living in, inhumanity, and the issue of the rent in those hostels was also the problem at that time, of which still the problem is today. And then the other thing is creating the organization was also the way of creating unity amongst the hostel in KZN, because you will remember back in the day, these hostels were governed, if I may put it that way, by some political parties. For example, you go to Amash Hostel, that hostel was dominated by Inkatha Freedom Party, even now. And you go to T-section, that hostel is being dominated by Inkatha Freedom Party. You go to Kipland's hostel, the hostel is being dominated by the ANC. So back in the day, if you're staying in Kipland's hostel, you cannot go to Amash Hostel because of those political differences. So then the founders of the organization see the need that, we need to sit down and come together and leave now the politics behind, so that we can focus on the poor hostel dwellers. So they come together. They decided, we need to leave the politics behind now, so that we can focus on the things that are matters in the hostels. So UPH, that is how it was born. So in the organization, you will find ANC members, you will find IFP members, you will find we've got all those political parties within the organization. But when we are in the UPH, we leave all those political flags behind. So we focus on the right of the poor hostel dwellers. So politics, we leave them behind us. So that is how UPH was born, and even now we still got challenges in the hostels, because leadership of UPH has been changing as time goes on. The founders of the organization, some retired, some died, So the leadership keeps on changing, but we still have leaders that have been with the organization since day one, like the chairperson and the deputy chairperson of the organization. They are also the founders of the organization. So now that division that was created by the politics among the hostels now, I would say that UPH has done a good job on creating unity among the hostels, because now a guy from Kipland's hostel, which is an ANC a member, can go freely to Amash hostel, without fear that he will be killed or something. But now the problem that we're facing in those hostels now is that some things were never changed, So our government does not want to listen, because there are some things that were never changed. For example, the poor service delivery. Such are things that we've been complaining about for the past 15 years, and we're still complaining about even now, and the violence in the hostels. Those are the other things that are still challenging us, because you will hear from the newspapers and from the radios that people from the hostels are like this and that and that. People from the hostels are always being painted like people that are violent and the stuff, but that is not the case. In the hostels, there are educated people, very good people that are staying in those hostels, but because of their rights are being violated, they cannot say anything. So people that violating their rights will say, no, those people from that hostel are violent, they are criminals, and so on. And people are very easy to believe false information than the truth, you understand? So that is where we're coming in, like to tell the people the truth about the hostels. Just last week we had a documentary about Ubunye BamaHostela, where we were trying to show the whole world the living conditions in the hostels, you know. At Cleveland's hostels alone, from 2014 till now 2021, more than 200 people have been killed, you know. More than 200 people have been killed. And yeah, I would say the police are doing great job now since that provincial task team was introduced to Cleveland. So they've been there, they've been doing a very good job, you know. As we're speaking now, 8 people who have been charged of killing people in that hostel has been arrested from 2017. And in those people, there was also a police officer who was a mastermind of those killings in that hostel, you know. So even though they are in prison, they're still communicating with other people in the hostel so that they can continue killing people. That's a challenge, because Cleveland's hostel is a hostel that is being dominated by the ANC, but they never came. They don't care. So that is where we saw that there is something behind that violence. So there are people that are pushing that violence, because we've also learned that because of that violence, because of that those killings that are happening in those hostels, some municipal officials are actually making money out of the blood of the poor, you understand? And we've got proof that they have been stealing in Cleveland's hostel a lot out of the blood of the poor. So those are the challenges. The huge unemployment rate, you know, we've got a lot of youths in these hostels, very educated youth people. But the problem is unemployment rate, you know, because if you're staying in the hostel, as I said before, you're staying in the hostel, you're going and look for a job, they saw your address on the CV, this one is staying in the hostel, especially Cleveland's hostel, then you are problematic. So they cannot give you that job, you understand? Because of the stigma from the hostels now. So it's affecting those youth. Then you will find out that because of now, those people have got nothing to do. No skills, no employment, nothing. So they will turn into alcohol abuse, drug abuse. You understand? They will use off those kind of sequence. And then if people is being using alcohol, abusing alcohol, drugs, you know, then they will turn into violence, because they are not working. Ask yourself, where are they getting the money to go and buy the alcohol? Where are they getting the money to go and buy the drugs? So those are the questions that we're asking ourselves, and then we find out, no, there are people in those hostels, you know, who doesn't want peace within the hostels, because that violence is they're making money out of that violence. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that's the challenge that we are facing in the hostels, because municipalities, these eThekwini municipalities involved in this violence. As I said, in 2018, as we were complaining about the conditions people that are living in, the issue of unemployment, as I mentioned, we wrote to municipality. We asked for them to all the departments that are involved, your human settlement, all the departments, the managers of the hostels, everybody. We asked them, you know what, because we've been talking to you and you don't want to listen to us. So this is what we want you to do now. We want you to come to us. We will go with you and we will visit all the 9 hostels so that you can see what we're talking about. They agreed. I think that was in 2018. So we went for a tour, all the 9 hostels. We took them there, we showed them, you know, the problems. They know everything that we're complaining about. Then after that tour, they said, okay, we'll come back to you. But even today, it's 2021 today. This year is 2021. That was in 2018. They never came back to us. And we tried to do follow-up letters, follow-up meetings, nothing. But what they do, they just evicting people from the hostels. You know, that's what they do. They evicting people everywhere. And we know, during this time of the pandemic, nobody should be evicted, you know. That's the law. But our municipality is always breaking the law every day when they have the chance. We even tried to meet up with them again this year, you know, on the issue of the evictions. But even today, that meeting was never a success, you know. We went for a meeting there at Embassy Building. They only told us when we were there that they cannot meet with us. We scheduled the meeting. Within a week, they agreed to meet with us. We went to Embassy Building, to their boardroom there. They sent one manager to come and tell us that, you know what, we cannot meet up with you, just like that, you know. So they're not taking the poor seriously. So it's like in this country, in South Africa, if you are poor, you've got no rights. That's what I can say. Those are the challenges that we're facing in the hostels, you know. The poor conditions that people are living in, it's shocking. It's shocking. It's very, very, very shocking, you know. And those family units that they built there, you know, cheap material was used to build those family units, you know.
That the management of the families was Transnet, and the evictions, what happened with the evictions? Who did they evict?
You know, when they doing all those kind of tricks, they identified the hostels. As you know, the hostels, some are big hostels, some are small hostels, you know. But every time they started to evict people, they will start with towards the hostel, because they know only females that are staying there. So that hostel is vulnerable to them, because they know that those females cannot stand up for themselves, you know, so they can do as they please to them. So that is where we come in. Well, they've been evicting people there for a very long time. So we went there. We told the superintendent that you need to stop what you're doing in this hostel, you know. You need to stop it. And we told them that we're still trying to meet up with your bosses, because we need to sort this thing out, because what you're doing here is wrong. You know, you're violating people's rights as if it's okay to do so. We even take the municipality to court in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, because they were evicting children there in Togoza Hostel. So they said children are not allowed to stay there. We took them to court, and then we won the case in Durban High Court. We won the case. Children are staying there now with their parents, and they're trying to do the same thing this year, to evict them again, you know. And we're still fighting with them in all of those kind of things, you know. So that is our challenges and our job as the organization. We focusing on human rights, you know. Human rights must not be violated. People must live freely. That's their right. And people must get the basic needs that they need, you know. That's their right. It's their constitutional right, you know.
So how are we going to unite all the poor? How are we going to get the coalition? What is our strategy?
I think uniting all the poor to come to the coalition of the poor it must start with the organization itself. Before coming to the poor, you need to sort the organization first, you know, create awareness, because you know what our government is doing now. They're using the strategy that was being used by the apartheid government, you know, the divide and rule strategy. You know, they know if you are poor, if you are not united, you cannot fight the oppressor. So in order for you to fight the oppressor, you need to be united. So without you being united, you cannot do anything. So that is what they're doing. They did this divide and rule strategy. So I'm saying it has to start with the organizations. Before even talking about the coalition of the poor, you need to understand what does the organization stand for and what does the coalition of the poor means, or what does the name poor means. Because some other people, you may find out they only in the struggle with the interest of making money for themselves. They don't care about the poor, you understand? So we need to create those kind of awarenesses, preach and teach our people, make our people understand the situation that we are facing now. I think maybe that could help, to create those awarenesses, to have like those political classes, make people understand the politics of today. You understand how does this politics has an impact on us as the poor people. You understand what I'm trying to say? Yeah, I think that is the strategy. Like before even it comes to the coalition of the poor, whereby all the organizations are coming in together. Because if, as UPH now, we understand what do we stand for, or what does UPH stand for. Everybody understand, and we make sure that everybody in the hostels understand UPH. Then it will be much easier when we're talking about the coalition of the poor, because each and every time UPH has, let's say, a protest or a march, Abahlali baseMjondolo is always there, and other organizations within the coalition, like SETS, will be always with us. So if Abahlali baseMjondolo are protesting, we're always there. So that is what we need to keep on doing, and pass it to other people as well from the hostels, so that people must not only see our faces only, you understand, so that this thing can spread. So we need to bring people together, preach, create those awarenesses. Make sure that everybody gets the message, Can even go to the radio stations if we have to. We can create our own pamphlets, and we need to come up with a strategy. Because if we said now, okay, comrades, we will start with Abahlali. If Abahlali baseMjondolo, let me make an example. If they're going to one of their branches, to go and address the people about the coalition of the poor, UPH must be there as well, so that people must know that they are not alone in the struggle. You understand what I'm trying to say? So that they must know that there are other organizations that are also struggling like the way they are struggling. Because you may find out that what Abahlali baseMjondolo are struggling, their struggle is the same as our struggles as UPH, because we were fighting a common enemy, which is municipality and the government officials. And who is running the country now? It's ANC. So ANC is our common enemy. So we need to come together, because they cannot fight alone, we cannot fight alone. But if we make noise, together, surely we can get the attention that we deserve from these people. But if we go alone as UPH, they might listen, they might not listen. You understand what I'm trying to say? But if they see that, hey, these people are united, and they're coming here with united front, so they've got no choice but to listen. But we have to keep on, pushing, because, we're dealing with very, very, very cruel people. Our government is very, very cruel. They don't care about us. You understand? They really don't care about the poor at all. So the poor must come together and fight for their rights. Because when you're fighting for your rights, you're not breaking any law. You're not stealing anything. I mean, it's your democratic right. It's your constitutional right. You have to fight for it. You understand what I'm trying to say? But if now you can see we've got like few marches with coalition of the poor, but every time we reach a city hall, we're looking for someone to come and take our memorandum. The first people you saw there is the police officers. You understand? Of which we're not protesting for police. Police officers are employed by the government. They are also the humans. They are also the members of the communities, because when they knock off the They go back to their communities where they stay, you understand? But when you're protesting, the first people you saw there, first line, police officers. Where are the officials? They must come and listen to our grievances and address us, give us hope, you know. But now when we go there and see police, we know what they're good at. They're good at shooting at us, you know. And they don't ask any questions. They just shoot. And that is wrong, you know. That is wrong. Our activists are being arrested for doing nothing, you know. Our activists are being killed for doing nothing, you know. And these cases are not going anywhere. You understand what I'm trying to say? Because we've got, out of those 200 people that I'm saying have been killed in Cleveland's hostel, the first person who died there in 2014 was Mr. Finger from Eastern Cape. That guy was killed by the police. That was in 2014. That was the first person to die in Cleveland's hostel. He was killed by the police. But those police are still wearing the uniform and go to report on duty even today. You know. So those are the things that we don't understand. How does that even possible? So it's okay for the police to go and kill innocent people. It's like our government, that is what it's saying. In 2015, the former public protector, Tuluma Donzel, went to Cleveland's hostel, you know. She asks